Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and a privilege to have you guys joining me here today as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, all that kind of good stuff. I'm going in for some oral surgery after the show today, so I might stretch today's show out as long as I can before going, I hate going to the dentist. At any rate, guys, we got a whole lot of great stuff to talk about today. A lot of things coming up in news. Robert De Niro maybe being in this damn Joker movie. That's a Bruce Lee remake of one of his most classic movies, all that type of stuff. Now, but before we get to any of that stuff, we've got a little bit of house cleaning to do. And the house cleaning we have to do is what were the results of yesterday's question of the day? Let's go over and take a look at it. Of course, yesterday's question of the day was, what was the best trailer at Comic-Con? And you guys said just by a little bit over 9%, Godzilla with 35.3% of the vote. In second came Aquaman with 25.7% of the vote. Then again, just about 9% separating them. Then just like 4% separating Aquaman from Shazam. Then about just another little over 4% separating Shazam from Glass. A very tight poll, guys, that you guys put out there. But you guys have spoken. I voted Aquaman, but you guys have spoken. The results of yesterday's question of the day is Godzilla. Godzilla is our winner. And we, of course, will have a new question of the day today. Going to revolve around James Gunn, but we'll get to that one in just a minute. For now, let's get on to the main topics of the day. Now, how do we pick our main topics? It's simple. You guys pick the main topics. How do you do that? By emailing them into me, and you just do it this way. Email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line. Just send in your question or topic to john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line, and maybe you'll see your email pop up here as one of the main topics of the show. All right, that being said, let's get to the main topics of the show. And we start off with topic number one, which comes to us from Raymond Tssunda, who writes, "Greetings, most noble John." Well, greetings to you, Raymond. I was a great fan of Atomic Blonde and also of Deadpool 2. So, when I heard that the director of those films, David Leitch, was in talks to direct one of the greatest martial arts films of all time, Enter the Dragon, I thought I'd faint. So, do you think this will actually happen? And if so, do you like the fit? Well, yeah, I gotta tell you, I was a little bit surprised. Like, Enter the Dragon, first of all, one of the most iconic movie names ever in the realm of martial arts films, right? And a film that's kind of marred by excellence and by tragedy, because I believe Bruce Lee died just before Enter the Dragon actually released. But at any rate, so this movie, it's classic kung fu kind of stuff. Guy out on a mission of revenge. He's going to a secret martial arts tournament that's actually used as a drug front for all types of nasty stuff. Anyway, talking about actually remaking a Bruce Lee classic is intriguing. Let's break this down into two parts. First, let's talk about the director choice. I love the idea of the director because the director has shown, whether it's with John Wick or with Atomic Blonde or with Deadpool 2, the guy knows how to infuse action. And I'll tell you what, I know not everybody was thrilled with Atomic Blonde. I liked Atomic Blonde. I actually liked the movie quite a bit. I thought, first of all, there's no denying the action in it was absolutely breathtaking and spectacular. He knew how to make it sultry when it needed to be sultry. He had some really good intrigue. The one complaint that I think is decent about it is the fact that he may have overcomplicated the film a little bit, but I thought Atomic Blonde was solid. And again, the action in it is beyond dispute. The action in Atomic Blonde is ridiculously good. Then you got him doing Deadpool 2, of course, what he did with John Wick. So if you're looking for like a North American director who could translate something like a source material of Enter the Dragon into a modern film, it's a good choice. I'm not saying he's the only guy to do it. I think there are other good choices they could have made too, but he is definitely a good choice. So I like that. But let's go to the second question though. Is it a good idea at all to redo Enter the Dragon? Now, on one hand, if you guys have watched me for any period of time, you know my attitude towards remakes is, fine, do remakes. Who cares? If you make a good remake, yay, we have another good movie. If you make a bad remake, who cares? We still have the original. Do remakes. That's just my general philosophy. But even I must admit, somebody who's all for remakes, must admit, the notion of remaking like a Bruce Lee classic like Enter the Dragon, it's iffy. It's iffy, right? Because, I mean, it's great. You got a very good director, but who do you get to replace Bruce Lee? I mean, Jet Li is a little bit beyond the years that he could do it. I don't know who you get in to replace Jet Li or who you bring in to replace Bruce Lee. It seems like a monumental task, and it really is a movie that is built around Bruce Lee. So it is challenging. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. Don't misinterpret me. I'm not saying they shouldn't do this movie. I'm just saying when we move beyond the question of, do we like this guy as the director? Yes, I like him as the director. And we get into the bigger question about, is this a movie they should even really be trying to do? I don't know. It leaves me a little bit iffy. You know, maybe we should have made this one the question of the day about whether you guys think they should be moving ahead with this or not. But it's going to be intriguing. Look, right now, the countdown would be on to see who are you getting to replace Bruce Lee. Because remember, Bruce Lee was an international name when they made Enter the Dragon. I mean, it's not like he was the biggest star in Hollywood or anything like that, but most people knew the name Bruce Lee. So I don't know that you can just go out and get some unknown. But I don't really know anybody who we know that could fill the shoes of a Bruce Lee. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. Ask me again once we actually have the guy they cast to play the Bruce Lee character. Once that's done, let's have this conversation again and see how we feel about it then. But as far as the director goes, I like the choice. I really do. All right, let's move on to the second topic. And the second topic today comes to us from Brennan Marshall, who writes, I'll admit I've been slow to warm up to the idea of a standalone Joker movie outside the DCEU, but man, I just read that both Zazie Beetz and Robert De Niro are lining up to be in the movie too. Okay, you've got my attention. My question is, do you think the addition of actors like these point to Warner Brothers having bigger goals for this film than just a good comic book film? Could they be looking at this as an, whispers, Oscar contender? All right, well, thanks a lot for the question, Brendan. Yes, first of all, you guys know I've been excited. I am excited about this Joker idea. Because to me, some of the best comic stories I've ever read were Elseworld stories. Stories that took place outside of the regular continuity of the comic books. Some of the greatest comic book stories ever written are these Elseworld stories. So why not try doing that with the movie universe? Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Okay, but why not try? Why not give it a shot and see what happens? Then you get a very good director on board. Then you get a very good actor in the lead, like one of this generation's most celebrated actors in Joaquin Phoenix. You know, you've had, right from the get-go, you've had Martin Scorsese involved. How much or how little is up for debate, but then we hear Robert De Niro, and I remember talking on my show a while ago saying, hey, you know, with Martin Scorsese's involvement, I wouldn't be all that surprised if we got a Robert De Niro involved at some point. And here we are. It sounds like Robert De Niro is in talks to play a role. Now, he wouldn't play the Joker. From what I was reading, he's not going to play. The idea of it, at least according to the reports, is not going to play his dad or anything like that. So we're going to see about that. The other interesting name here is Zazie Beetz. I am a big fan of Atlanta. Granted, I wasn't as big of a fan of season 2 as I was of season 1, but still, I'm a big fan of Atlanta. And she's great in Atlanta. She was great as Domino in Deadpool 2. So, and now she's also got a role in this upcoming Natalie Portman movie called Pale Blue Dot, which looks fascinating. And she's going to be playing in that opposite John Hamm, which I'm really looking forward to seeing her in. I think that's going to tell us a lot about the overall acting chops of Zazie Beetz when she's in that movie. Because when you're performing across from Natalie Portman and John Hamm and actors of that caliber, we're going to see what you're made of, you know? But I've liked her very much in Atlanta. I liked her a lot in Deadpool. And I think the idea of her bringing her on board for something like a Joker movie like this is great. Now, of course, they announced over, you know, while Comic-Con was going on, it's actually got an October 2019 release date. We're just a little over a year away from this movie coming out. I mean, it's crazy to think about it in those terms, but I guess they have a lot of work done already. Look, if they come out and say Robert De Niro and Zazie Beetz is in this, does this point that Warner Brothers isn't just looking at this movie as a good comic book movie, but that they could be looking at it as an Oscar kind of movie? Maybe. I mean, you get in the director of War Dogs, you bring in Joaquin Phoenix, you bring in Zazie Beetz and Robert De Niro. Not that every movie Robert De Niro appears in is gold by any stretch of the imaginations, but still, could it point that Warner Brothers actually has ridiculous confidence in this project? Does Warner Brothers actually look at this script and say, you know what, we think this is something that transcends the comic book genre. We think this is like an Oscar season kind of movie. And by releasing in October, you're getting kind of close to Oscar season. It might. I mean, I don't want us to get too far ahead of ourselves. Right now, it's still a concept. We know they've got a good movie pulling together. They've got a great lead actor. If Robert De Niro and Zazie Beetz do indeed sign on, that's good stuff as well. And who knows? Maybe it does point that Warner Brothers has just that level of anticipation and that level of belief and that level of confidence in this project that maybe they're looking at it as, you know what? We think this is a comic book film that can get Oscar buzz. Maybe that's what they're thinking. And maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. Maybe they're not even thinking that. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I believe the possibility is there. All right, let's move on now to the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from Michael Dow, who writes, regarding the James Gunn situation, I've been seeing that the cast of the film, you probably meant films, have all been tweeting out pretty solid support for him. And I totally believe, like you, that Disney did in fact know about those tweets before they hired him in the first place. Knowing that, do you think there is a chance that Disney fired Gunn knowing that they'd rehire him later, to make it look like they were responding to the controversy with action and now can hire him back as a redemption story? Your thoughts. All right. So this whole thing about the James Gunn situation has been getting a lot of people talking. Now, for those of you who, haven't been plugged in the last couple of days, it came to light. Well, came to light. They were always public. But anyway, what's come up again are a large series of tweets that James Gunn wrote. These really terrible jokes. Awful jokes with some very insensitive stuff. Regarding things like date rape, regarding things like molestation and things like just horrible, badly thought out, ill-advised, idiotic tweets that he put out almost a decade ago. I said he is suffering from a disease known as IMM, or idiot moron mouth. And so anyway, what happened is somebody brought all these tweets back up, and that got some people upset when they read them, even though these tweets have been public for almost 10 years and anybody could have read them anytime they wanted to, but whatever. So somebody brought them up again, these tweets that happened almost 10 years ago. A bunch of people got upset, understandably so. They were upsettable tweets that he did, horrible jokes. And it's completely understandable that people got upset by them. At that point, Disney Studio Chairman Alan Horn, who the only guy he really reports to is Bob Iger. I mean, after Bob Iger, it's Alan Horn at Disney. Alan Horn puts out this statement saying, James Gunn's tweets are inconsistent with our core values and beliefs, and we have severed our business relationship with James Gunn. To which everybody with any ounce of common sense said, Alan, you're a moron. You knew about those tweets when you hired him, because if you didn't, you're also the biggest incompetent fool. Your organization is completely riddled with incompetence. So you knew about those tweets before you hired him. So quit acting like you're surprised. Anyway. So, but he made a decision that, okay, look, this is bad for business. So they made a decision to part ways with James Gunn. I don't fault them for that. Making decisions that are best for your business. That's what you got to do. I understand. There has been a theory being floated around because in the last number of days, a lot of people, including the people who know James Gunn best, i.e. his cast of Guardians of the Galaxy, have been coming forward, including Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, who all basically give testament to this is the kindest, nicest guy you're ever going to meet. And they all support him. As a result of all that, there's been this theory going around that Disney decided, okay, let's make a show of action, by firing James Gunn. And then in a month, we'll put out a statement saying, we've sat with many hours with James going over the issues and topics. He understands this and blah, blah, blah. And we, on a temporary, conditional basis, are going to bring James back in to continue his work on Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Because then it makes Disney look like, A, we took action when we found out something outrageous as these ridiculous, awful, idiotic tweets that James Gunn put out. It makes it look like Disney took action. But then it also looks like they're understanding and redemptive. And they go, okay, we took action, we sat, we talked, blah, 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 blah. We feel good about where he's come and blah, blah, and we're going to welcome him back in at this point. So he got punished, he got publicly humiliated, he got all that kind of stuff, but now we're bringing him back in. So there's this theory going around that there is a larger plan here that Disney has to fire him and bring him back, and they probably worked that all out with James in advance. I'm going to say this. It's a theory that's so crazy, it just might be true. It just might be true. Look, Disney is a company that does think 4 or 5 steps ahead. Now, I'm not saying that it is true. I would say the odds are that it's not true. So there's that, okay? But I'm just saying that it's such a crazy notion, and knowing that Disney is a company that thinks 3 or 4 or 5 steps ahead normally, is it conceivable that this is a part of a larger PR plan that Disney has? Fire him, then do a redemption sort of thing. It might be. It is possible. Look, when I first started addressing the issue, I wasn't really 100% sure where I fell on this. Like, on the one hand, I understood why Disney fired him. I do. Because this type of attention is bad for business. They let him go. I get it. I do. I also completely understand why anybody who would have read those things that he wrote 10 years ago would be completely offended and bothered and maybe even hurt by them. I get that too. I totally do. No condemnation or judgment on anybody who says they're offended by those things, because I think you have every right to be. At the same time, I put out a tweet yesterday that said, well, hold on a second. James Gunn, he didn't do anything. He said something. He made really awful jokes. Nearly 10 years ago. But then on his own, he looked at the way he was doing things and decided, that's stupid, I shouldn't do that. And on his own decided to stop acting like that. See, these aren't funny. These jokes are just insensitive and cruel, and they're not funny. So I'm going to stop. So here we have a guy who said some really stupid, insensitive, hurtful jokes. Then on his own realized and went, you know what? I don't want to be the guy that says stuff like that, so I'm going to stop, years ago. And ever since then, has never said anything remotely similar to that. Isn't that what we want people to do? Isn't that exactly what we want people to do? You've done some really stupid things. I've done some really stupid things. Isn't it what we want for people to take to self-evaluate and go, hey, what I'm doing is actually pretty wrong. I need to stop that. I need to stop doing that because I'm recognizing, wait a minute, this wasn't funny, it was hurtful. And I realize that now, and I feel bad, and I'm not going to be the guy that writes that stuff anymore, and I'm going to stop. And that's what James Gunn did. Don't we want people to do that? So, I don't know. It's a little bit tricky. So, that is the subject matter of today's question of the day. And the question of the day is simply this, guys. Do you think James Gunn should be reinstated into the MCU and into Guardians? Now, I'm giving you 3 options because I like to throw in a third option when I can. I'm giving you 3 options. You can either vote yes, he should be reinstated. You can vote no, he shouldn't be reinstated. But I'm giving you a third option too. And that third option is maybe giving it a little more time, like saying, yes, reinstate him, but maybe wait until after Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So I've just thrown in that option for you there, just in case there's some of you who want to go that way. So look, in the description of this video, at the bottom of the description of this video, you will find a link to the question of the day. Click on that link, go on over and cast your vote. Should James Gunn, let me know what you think. Should James Gunn be reinstated? Yes, he should. No, he shouldn't. Or a third option, yeah, you can, but maybe just give it some more time and wait until after Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now, I'm going to go over to the page right now and take a look to see if any of you guys have already started voting. And there's already 121 votes in here. And here's where we're at so far. As of right now, 67.5% of you are saying yes, he should be reinstated. 23.9% of you are saying no, he shouldn't. And 8.5% are saying maybe after Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So right now, after about 120 some odd votes, guys, there's still like 800, 1,500 more votes to come. So this could change by tomorrow. But as of right now, we got 67.5% of you are saying yes, he should be reinstated. 23.9% of you are saying no, he shouldn't. Then 8% of you saying maybe later. So what do you say? Jump down into the description of this video, click on that link, and let your voice be heard. And then we will, of course, go over the results of today's questions of the day tomorrow at the beginning of the John Campea Show. Okay, with that out of the way, let's keep moving on here and let's go on to the fourth topic of the day. And the fourth topic today comes to us from Richard Pease, who writes, "Hey John, after watching the Shazam trailer and Aquaman trailer, I am left optimistic, yet not overly excited. This is because I have been burned too many times by DC, most of which have some good scenes but lack great overall story. Does this worry you in regards to the general audience? I'm a comic fan, yet I still feel this way. What can convince the audience to give DC another chance?" All right, well, thanks a lot for the question, Richard. So, yeah, we just came out of Comic-Con. We talked about all the trailers, the great trailers that came out of Comic-Con. And two of those great trailers, Aquaman, which I thought was the best trailer Comic-Con, but you guys voted Godzilla, but still, I thought Aquaman was the best one. And Shazam, which I thought was just a little bit behind it. Two great trailers. I thought they killed it. But what Mr. Pease brings up here is a concern I have heard from a number of people. Like, after I saw the Aquaman trailer, I remember I jumped on Twitter and just wrote, "That Aquaman trailer is damn near perfect." I mean, that's just what I tweeted, right? And right from that first tweet, I started getting responses from people and a lot of sentiment out there of, yeah, but we've seen DC put out great trailers before and the movies have sucked. Personally, I have liked all the DC movies. I haven't loved them other than Man of Steel. That I loved. But I like Batman vs. Superman. I like Justice League. I like Wonder Woman. I like Suicide Squad. It's a hot mess of a movie, but I still got a kick out of it. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of people who didn't like those movies. Okay, fine. I understand. So the concern we've started seeing mounting is, okay, but isn't this the same song and dance we've had before? Comic-Con comes. DC drops these amazing trailers that look fantastic, but then we see the movies that doesn't live up to the trailers. Is this a situation of fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on you, fool me 3 times, shame on you, fool me 4 times, well, I'm just an idiot? Like, is that what this is? Is this just another merry-go-round of more incredible trailers from DC that will ultimately just lead to movies that disappoint the audience? It's possible. I think that it's possible that's the case. But I have a little bit more optimism. Besides the fact that I've liked the DC movies, I think there's a reason to have a bit more optimism than maybe in years past. And that is this. This Aquaman trailer felt different from any other DC trailer we've had before. This Shazam trailer felt different than any other Shazam or any other DC trailer we've seen before. To me, it's not just a matter that the trailers were great. They were great and they were different. You could almost, now again, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We're just talking about trailers. These movies could suck. They could be just like all the other ones. Who knows? But based on just the trailers, these felt different. Like it didn't just feel like these are great trailers. These felt like these were great trailers to movies that are going in a different direction than maybe DC has gone before. And I think that uniqueness, I think that specialness, I think those elements that make these trailers stand apart from the other DC, high quality, conveyor belt assembly line that they crank out these incredible trailers with. These trailers did not feel like they came off that same assembly line. It felt like they were trying something different with both of these films. And so for me, just as an average movie fan, I look at these and go, okay, they're very high quality trailers. I think most of us will agree about that. They're high quality trailers. Not all of us will agree. That's fine. Totally fine. But I think most people would agree these are high quality trailers. And they felt different. It feels like DC under Hamada is doing something different. And it's that difference to me that gives me that extra little ounce of confidence. Now, again, I am not sitting here saying, let's be very clear. I am not sitting here saying that, oh, Aquaman's gonna be great or Shazam's gonna be great. I don't know. These are just trailers. The movies could be train wrecks for all we know. They might be awesome. They might be train wrecks. We're just talking about the trailers. But I think based on the trailers, personally, I think there's reasons here to have some optimism. Not blind optimism, but some optimism. So I like what we're seeing, to be honest with you. And I think that is something that to the people who have lost faith in DC, I would say, check these trailers out. Yes, they're great, just like all the other trailers, but notice how they feel quite different. And that's what I would say to people, maybe like yourself, who are kind of feeling like, hey, I'm a comic book fan, but DC's lost me. I would say that uniqueness about these trailers might be something that might entice you to come back. It's up to you, though, because all film's subjective, and really, it's all about what you think is worth it. All right, let's move on to the final email of the day. And the final email of the day comes to us from Dan Peckett, who writes, I am a fan of Johnny Depp, and whilst I know there has been a lot of controversy over his casting in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, I thought Depp stepping out on stage at San Diego Comic-Con as Grindelwald was a ballsy and brave move by both Depp and Warner Brothers. What did you think of Depp's appearance in Hall H? All right, so for those of you who may not know what Dan is talking about, at Comic-Con this year, they had the Fantastic Beasts panel, and they introduced the cast, but they didn't introduce Johnny Depp. And then Johnny Depp comes out on stage in character, you see him right here, as Grindelwald, right? And he speaks as Grindelwald. Now, it was very, very reminiscent of Comic-Con a number of years ago when Tom Hiddleston, I mean, this was one of the greatest moments in I believe, in Comic-Con history. Tom Hiddleston came out on stage as Loki. His people of Comic-Con, I am Loki and I am burdened with glorious purpose. And he comes out and does this whole Loki thing. And the audience lost their mind. It went crazy. It was great. So this move by Warner Brothers was very reminiscent of that. Was it a good move? Here's what I'll say to that. I think it was. And here's why. Look, there has been a lot of controversy surrounding Johnny Depp lately. And a lot of people questioning whether he should have been cast in the first place. Then some recent articles coming out just that this guy's a bloody mess of a human being right now. That studios are worried about working with him. Blah, blah, like all this kind of stuff. So you got all this negative stuff going around. I believe it was bold, but I believe Warner Brothers knew they needed to make a bold move to try to change the narrative around Johnny Depp and his involvement with Fantastic Beasts. I think they knew we had to change the narrative. We got to get people talking about, when talking about Fantastic Beasts 2, we need to get people talking about something other than, oh, all the drama about Johnny Depp. And what did they do? They decided to roll the dice because it could have backfired and throw him out there on stage, come out as Grindelwald, do something very I'll use the word fan service, and fan service is not a dirty word, okay? Do something that's very fan service orientated, put him out there on stage as Grindelwald, and get people talking about that. And you know what? From everything that I'm gauging, I think it was a gambit that worked. Now, that doesn't mean the Johnny Depp stories won't come up again later, but I feel like right now, people are talking about, number one, the new Fantastic Beasts trailer, which is pretty solid, by the way. And number two, they're talking about Johnny Depp's appearance at Comic-Con as Grindelwald. They're not talking today about all the drama surrounding Johnny Depp. And in that, the move paid off. Now, will this move and this new trailer and all that kind of stuff have long-term effects? Like, now people just don't... Maybe if Johnny Depp can keep his nose down, just keep his head down, not get embroiled in any more controversy between now and when Fantastic Beasts play out, maybe there will be long-lasting benefits of this move here. Maybe it does stop the chatter about all the controversy surrounding Johnny Depp, and we're just focusing on the new trailers, we're just focusing on the new movie, and we're just focusing on this great appearance at Comic-Con. If he can keep his head down, stay out of trouble, keep his mouth shut, maybe it'll work. But I'll tell you this, there were immediate benefits. Because you're releasing this new trailer, you want people talking about the trailer, not the Johnny Depp drama. So have Johnny Depp come out on stage, do this thing. Now people are talking about the trailer and they're talking about this thing. And that's what Warner Brothers wanted. This was a calculated risk. It was a PR move and it was a smart one and it worked. How long will it work? Who knows? We're just going to have to wait and find out to know for sure. Okay, guys, that'll do it for all the main topics today. I've got a little bit of time here still, so we're going to go over and take some of your live questions over on the board right now. Let's get to those live questions right now. Ben Rayner writes, greater surprise at San Diego Comic-Con, Grindelwald or Loki? Oh, Loki. I mean, even just by default is the order of it. Grindelwald, that's been done before because Loki did it. Loki doing it first, coming out on stage, in character, boom, boom, boom. I mean, that one wins it. The Grindelwald thing was a good move, but the bigger surprise and the greater surprise was the Loki one. Manuel Fernandez writes, a petition to rehire James Gunn is over 250. He's closing out on 300,000 now. To rehire James Gunn is over 250,000 signatures. I know you've said they aren't effective, but I still think that's quite impressive. I mean, there's 100 million moviegoers. The fact that 250,000 people signed the petition, it's really actually not all that much. It's actually really not all that much. When you consider that James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy made over $700 million, you know how much these 250,000 signatures represent? 2.5 million of that 750 million that Guardians of the Galaxy made. It's actually a tiny, tiny, tiny number. I know it feels like a big number, but it's actually quite tiny. And you know my opinion of petitions. Petitions are useless. Particularly in the movie world, they're absolutely useless. All petitions do is make us feel like we're doing something, when in reality, we're not doing anything. They are pointless. But hey, I admire that they felt like they wanted to do something and get that petition going. But I mean, it really doesn't mean anything. If it hits 5 million, signatures, then that might be something that somebody at Disney will go, oh, well, maybe we should pay attention to that. At this point, it's really a tiny, tiny number. It doesn't represent anything. Unfortunately, we're talking about much greater numbers that would be needed. James Welsh writes, given the impression of the Titans trailer, do you think DC's streaming service will be a success? Impossible to say. It's impossible to say. We're still so far away from it actually launching. And remember, success for a network isn't going to be measured on its opening week. It's not like movies, where you really do measure, you can get a really good gauge on how a movie's going to do with its opening weekend. There are exceptions, but the vast majority of the time you can tell. That's not the case with networks though, right? Networks, they're playing a longer game. So I think this Titans trailer hurt their initial sign-up. I do. But whether or not the service will be a success, at this point, it's impossible to say. They've got a lot of other shows they got coming. Yeah, I'm particularly fascinated with this swamp thing they keep talking about. Like, I'm fascinated by that. I want to see what that's about. But at this point, it's just way too early. Look, I'll say this. The Titans trailer didn't do it any favors. But that doesn't mean it's not going to succeed. So we're way too early to start having that discussion. James Welsh follows up with, did you see the new Alita Battle Angel trailer? I did. Significant improvement over the first trailer. Significant improvement over the first trailer. I actually like this trailer. I like this Alita Battle Angel trailer. I actually thought it was pretty damn good. And it erased a lot of the sour taste in my mouth that the first trailer gave me. Because if you guys remember, I was not a fan of that first trailer. This one, much better. Much better. If you haven't seen it yet, just hop on YouTube, search, Alita Battle Angel trailer 2 or whatever, and you should be able to find it. And I think most of you will agree with me. It is a significant improvement over the first trailer. I'm telling you what, guys, that weekend, that week of December 21st is getting more and more interesting. Because now that this Alita Battle Angel trailer came out and it looks damn good, man, it's going to be a rough week, guys. Kyle B writes, Worlds of DC, thoughts? It sounds like they're going to have movies that are loosely connected going forward. I think that's the right way to go. I don't know that the term Worlds of DC necessarily points us in one way or the other. I just think, here's the thing. This is all part of the PR move. Please don't get angry at me for saying this. I'm just saying what is common sense here, and y'all know it. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but just don't get mad at me for saying it because it's a legit observation. A lot of the movie going on, Justice League's box office proved that a lot of people had given up on the DCEU. Whether they should or shouldn't have, or all that kind of stuff, that's up for debate. But don't get mad at me just for pointing out the obvious. The box office of Justice League proved that a lot of people, your movie that was supposed to be the biggest of them all, the big ultimate team up, the film that was supposed to rival Avengers, and it ends up being your lowest grossing of all your films. That suggested that people were, diving overboard off the good ship DCEU. What we saw at Comic-Con were some subtle moves to try to bring the audience back. Number one, we talked about the uniqueness of the Aquaman and the Shazam trailers. But I believe number two is, with DC now trying to distance themselves from that label DCEU, because now DCEU, with a bunch of people, not everybody, but with a bunch of people, carries a negative connotation. DCEU. So I think this is a subtle little PR move to try to differentiate themselves, saying, hey guys, we're going to be different moving forward. There was the DCEU. Think what you will about the DCEU, but now we're the Worlds of DC. Just by putting a different label on it can help change perceptions. It's not going to change night into day. It's not going to change fire into ice, but it will help change some perceptions. Get rid of the label that was starting to carry some negative connotations, introduce a new label, some new feeling trailers, start to give the impression that this is a new day for the DC movies. And I think it was successful. I think it was successful. I really do. Not mass. It didn't turn fire into ice or water into wine, but I think it was successful. So we'll see where we go from here. Let's see. Zombitron 5678 writes, have you seen Teen Titans Go to the movies? The movie has 100% of Rotten Tomatoes. I have to wonder how, especially since the show is awful. I have not seen the movie. I have no intention of seeing the movie. But let me just throw this up here. Yes, Teen Titans right now has a 100% of Rotten Tomatoes. However, Teen Titans right now only has 17 reviews. This thing's going to end up with 250, 300 reviews when it's all said and done. Right now, there are 17 reviews. So let's not get too carried in. No, at the same time, even with just 17 reviews in, you'd rather have 17 reviews in and have them all be positive as opposed to being like 15% or something like that. It's a good start. It's a good start. I'm just saying, let's not get carried away with that 100% number until, we get past like 40 reviews. If we get past 40 reviews and it's still 100%, then that's a huge story, I think. Right now it's 17 reviews. It's good news for that movie. I think it looks horrendous, but who knows? Maybe it's good. I just have no intention of seeing it. But let's not get too carried away. Just remember, there are only 17 reviews right now, so let's not, get too hyped just yet. Adam K. writes, do you think Sean Gunn will stay on Guardians of the Galaxy? It's a good question. It's a good question. Sean Gunn obviously is an actor. He is the brother of James Gunn. Will he stay on it? I don't know. He may walk. It's not like his is the most important character in the universe. It's not like he's not replaceable. Even Chris Pratt is replaceable. They're all replaceable. So it's not like Disney's going to go, oh no, Sean Gunn's going to walk. We have to reinstate his brother. Not that, but just to make a statement that, what you did to my brother is wrong. I'm walking off. He might do that. I don't know that he will. I'm not even sure he should, but it is something he might do. I'm going to guess he won't, because what would it accomplish? I mean, if he walks, it's not like you get threatened you're going to walk and they're going to put James back in. So it wouldn't accomplish anything. So I don't know. I don't think he will. I think it's possible he could, but I don't think he will. Kick It to the King Productions writes, John Wick versus Marvel's Punisher. Who wins in a shootout? John Wick. John Wick wins. Well, who wins in a shootout? Like not hand-to-hand combat? Maybe Punisher. You know what? I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go Punisher. In a shootout, I'll go Punisher. Let's see. Sorry, I had a bit of a jump here. Okay, here we go. John Demoto writes, sorry if asked already, but any reason why Black Adam won't show up in Shazam? Thanks. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. My feeling is that because they're going for such a light-hearted tone, that Black Adam may be too heavy of a presence for that movie and may not fit the movie well. And that's a great example of go with what works for your movie. Black Adam would be a great character, yes, but would it serve the movie? And if they're going for a lighthearted, fun tone, then something like a Black Adam may not be best for this particular movie. Maybe they can do a sequel and go a little bit heavier in that point, and then you bring in a Black Adam. But for right now, my guess is they thought the tones wouldn't match. So they kept it out. But then again, I'm just speculating. You'll have to ask an executive at Warner Brothers what the real reason is. Kick It to the King's Productions writes, my name is Joshua Mickle, and I want to say that because of your dating advice from an old AMC movie talk, I first met my wife in 2014. That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. We are now praying that her grandfather doesn't have cancer. Tough times, need prayers, everyone. Well, thanks for sharing that, man. And best thoughts and wishes for your wife's grandfather. Absolutely. And all that kind of stuff. And again, thank you for sharing that little story about it was my dating advice. You hear that, guys? You should all listen to me. You might meet your future wife. Said nobody ever. Thanks for sharing that, Kick It to the King. I appreciate that. Toonie2 writes, Dave Filoni announced at Comic-Con the return of Clone Wars. It's nice to see fans happy again and no Kathleen Kennedy. Well, guess what, guys? You know who you have to thank for Clone Wars coming back? Suck it up. It's Kathleen Kennedy. Sorry, it's true. From approving the financing to approving the concept to giving the go-ahead to put it in development to accepting the pitch, then greenlighting the project, and then releasing the funds to do it, that's all Kathleen Kennedy. Oh, that just hurts some of you to admit that, doesn't it? Ooh, it hurts. But it's true. It's damn true, as Kurt Angle would say. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. You got to thank Kathleen Kennedy for that. Dave Filoni couldn't have made it happen. Anything that happens with the Star Wars, it all goes through Kathleen Kennedy. And if Kathleen Kennedy said no, there's no such thing as this thing. Kathleen Kennedy had to approve every step of the process of this, and she's the one who ultimately gave the green light to bring it ahead. How you like them apples? Me, I don't care. I don't even care about the Clone Wars. I mean, I don't care because I don't like Clone Wars. So that's me. But I know a lot of you guys are very happy about the Clone Wars things. That's great. I'm happy for you that it's coming. But this whole thing, no, Kathleen Kennedy. Are you in for a bad surprise? It's all Kathleen Kennedy. The good and the bad. The good and the bad. None of this happens. Like, there is no Clone Wars. There is no Clone Wars coming back without Kathleen Kennedy. So now you got these people out there who they're like, their brains are doing the whole do not compute fizzle right now. Yeah, oh, super happy Clone Wars is coming back, but I don't want to give any credit to Kathleen Kennedy. What do I do? I mean, that's what's happening right now. Now, I don't care about Clone Wars, so I'm just sitting back laughing at the whole thing. But, I mean, yep, you start writing your thank you notes to Kathleen Kennedy for bringing Clone Wars back, everybody. Toonie Toon writes, the Godzilla trailer looks good, but I think the movie is too dark. I love the Godzilla movies from the 1960-1970 era. The best monster movies of all time for me. I don't know if it's too dark. I mean, it's just a trailer. And I think we're going to get a lot of reasons for the sun out, blackout kind of things. I think that there's going to be narrative purpose for that. I don't know that for sure, but I got that feeling from the trailers. But again, I wouldn't get wrapped up in that too much because, again, they are just the trailers. It's hard to say it's too dark. You haven't seen the movie yet. It looks a little dark, yes, but it's just a trailer, so I wouldn't worry about that at this point. But yeah, some of those 1960, 1970 Godzilla movies, man, some of those are classic. Like, some of those are just, So much fun. And there's deep metaphor behind, like a lot of people today, they miss that. In those movies, there's a lot of deep metaphor that some people miss. And they're actually deeper movies than you might think. Because on the surface, they're just this silly, but there's actually metaphor involved in all of them. And if you look for them, you'll start to appreciate, like Tooney does, just how smart those are and how great those are. History Soup writes, rumors of Batwoman spinoff CW after crossover. Well, those aren't rumors. CW itself has announced they have ordered the development of a series. They haven't greenlit the series yet, but they are developing it right now. Now, many shows get development and then never see the light of day, yes. So they're developing it, and they'll probably see how the audience reacts to the character in the big CW crossover, in the big Arrowverse crossover. And they'll see how the audience responds, and that the audience responds great and the development is going well, then they'll probably give a green light to the series. But yes, it is more than just a rumor. They're actually developing that thing. Koba writes, and this will be the last question of the day, guys, and then I'm going to have to go get ready for my dental appointment. Koba writes, Godzilla is facing off against 3 monsters next movie. How is Kong a threat to him? Well, Kong is Kong. So there's that. Also, there is a theory, because if you watch some of the old movies, sometimes like Rodan and stuff like that team up with Godzilla. There's a theory going around out there that King Ghidorah is actually going to be the ultimate antagonist, and that Rodan and Mothra may actually team up with Godzilla to fight Rodan, or to fight Ghidorah. Because Ghidorah is bigger, like Ghidorah just dwarfs Godzilla. Ghidorah's huge. So there is that theory out there that there may actually be a team up of some sorts. We'll see how whether that's true or not, we'll have to see. But there is precedent for that in the old movies. Whether that's the direction they're going to go, don't know. But remember, Kong is also a dude. Kong is the baddest dude in town. Like, Kong rips apart these monsters for lunch. So yeah, don't worry about Kong, they'll have it so Kong and Godzilla are a legit threat to each other. I think they're going to set that. But as far as the 3 against 1, I have a feeling it may not be 3 against 1. Again, we'll have to wait and see, but it's a great observation, Koba. Okay, that's right. That's all the time I have for today, guys. Hey, guys, don't worry about it. I put up a new companion video this morning, by the way. All the live questions that have come in that I don't have time to get to right now, I will answer in companion videos over the next couple of days. So thank you. So don't worry about it. Those questions will get answered in a video. Don't worry about it. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, listen, guys, do me a favor. If you're somebody who enjoys the John Campea Show, do me this one favor. Just go to www.patreon.com/John Campea. There you'll get the information about, 1, what it means to be a Patreon supporter, 2, how being a Patreon supporter keeps this show on the air, and number 3, the benefits of being a Patreon supporter, and then maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too and be one of the reasons this show stays on the air, and that would be awesome if you did. Also, guys, don't forget, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Just click on that subscribe button and the little bell as well. Keep up to date on all the videos that we got going on up here. Keep your eyes open for those companion videos as well. I may be back this afternoon for open mic. I'm going to have to see how the old gabber is doing once I get out of my procedure, because they're drilling a screw into my jawbone. I'm freaking out just thinking about it. Anyway, we'll see if I can talk all right. I'm going to be back with open mic. I'll tweet out whether I'm going to do it or not, but keep your eyes open. Maybe we'll be back this afternoon. All right, guys, that will do it for me. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.